good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, depending on where you're joining. I hope you can hear me well. My name is Giorgia Pasqualetto. I'm an energy efficiency and cooling specialist at Sustainable Energy for All, and I will be your moderator for this session today. So welcome, everyone. Welcome to this COP27 side event hosted at the European Union Pavillion on mobilizing finance for industrial decarbonization. With this session, we will bring together a panel of industry experts and experts from financial institutions to highlight solutions and to initiate a dialogue on scaling up investments on industrial decarbonization and energy efficiency. We have the possibility to share questions via the Slido link. I hope you can access it well. So please do share your questions as we go so we can feed them to the panel. We will have a quick ice-breaking poll as well. We will get to that very soon. And thank you very much for joining this important discussion today. I think we really cannot understate the role of industry and the role of industrial decarbonization on delivering on the climate goals and on enabling the clean energy transition. We know that industry represents approximately 1/3 of total final energy consumption, almost 45% of total direct emission from the end users. And the most recent World Energy Outlook by the IEA warned us that there is no way to reach net zero emission without strong and coordinated action on emission reductions from industry sectors. So this strong and coordinated action, will require investments. It will require scaling up investments to accelerate those technologies that are needed for decarbonizing energy-intensive and hard-to-abate sectors. And it will also require almost tripling investments to improve energy efficiency at faster pace, at larger scale, and across all industrial sectors. And energy efficiency in particular, at this specific time in history in which many countries are dealing with an energy crisis, energy efficiency is really one of the best solutions that we have, one of the fastest and most cost-effective tools that industrial sectors have to reduce emissions quickly, cost-effectively, and improve their energy securities. And there's, as we will see, there is large opportunities that remain untapped for investing in energy efficiency across industrial sectors and across enterprises of all sizes. So really, welcome for joining the discussion today. This event is co-organized by UNIDO, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, and by Mission Efficiency Partners. And Mission Efficiency, it is my pleasure to introduce, say a few words about Mission Efficiency. It was launched earlier in May at the Sustainable Energy for All Forum in Kigali, Rwanda. And it is a coalition of government, organizations, and initiatives all over the world that are coming together to accelerate the transition towards energy efficient economies worldwide. And also to accelerate the market readiness for energy efficient solutions. You can learn more about energy efficiency at missionefficiency.org. So before we continue, I would like to break the ice and launch a quick poll to hear from all of you who are connecting with us today and hear your experiences and your insight. So we would love to hear from you. What do you think is the key barrier for accelerating industrial decarbonization at the moment? You see a few options on the screen. Are we lacking efficient and affordable technologies? Is public finance not sufficient to trigger a change? Are we lacking policy incentives, especially for those energy-intensive sectors? Or is it not attractive enough for private finance? Or are there other barriers that you know of or that you face on your in your work as well and on your experience? And we would love to hear from you if there are other barriers, what are those barriers? So please do let us know and vote through the Slido link that you should be able to access through the QR code. So yeah, let us know what you think the barriers are, either among our options, or please type in the chat, in the Q&A chat, other barriers that you know of. So hopefully we can feed all of these insights to the panel as well. And maybe while we do that, let me introduce our panel today. We are joined by a few brilliant experts, and they will be showcasing energy efficiency investment opportunities towards industrial decarbonization. And we will be zooming into some of the barriers that we need to address to unlock financing. So with us today, we have Nurzat Mirzalieva, industrial energy efficiency expert from the United Nations Industrial Development Organization. We have Carlos Sanchez Rivero, who is a team leader for financing for energy efficiency at the European Commission's Director General for Energy. We have Giampiero Nacci, Director of Sustainable Business and Infrastructure at the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. We have Gürsu Sezen-Torun, Project Coordinator and expert in industry and technology at the Ministry of Technology and Industry of Turkey. And last, but certainly not least, we have Paul Huggins, who is an Associate Director and Head of Industrial Decarbonization at the Carbon Trust. So let me see how we're doing with the poll. Okay, so we have a few answers that came in already, and it looks like there seems to be some consensus around the fact that policy incentives at the moment are not sufficient or are lacking, especially for energy-intensive sectors. So this is quite interesting. And if any of the panelists would like to provide insight or updates on what their institutions are doing regards to policy incentive, it would be great to circle back to that later. And the other options are scoring very similar. We see now more consensus building up for energy-intensive sectors and policy incentives, and also lack of efficient and affordable technologies. So we will hear about technology as well later in the panel. So maybe, and please do continue sharing your questions in the chat. So maybe with this, let me turn to our first speaker, Nurzat Mirzalieva. Nurzat is, she's an expert at UNIDO on industrial energy efficiency and industry decarbonization. Before joining UNIDO, she worked in the Arab region, supporting governments and improving the enabling environment for sustainable energy and sustainable energy investments. And she was involved in the development of 2 national action plans on renewable energy and energy efficiency for the Kingdom of Bahrain. And she will set the scene for our discussion today. So good morning, Nurzat. The floor is yours. Could you tell us a bit more about what are, from your experience, the UNIDO experience, what are the key energy efficiency opportunities for industrial decarbonization? The floor is yours.
Thank you, Georgia. I think I am supposed to have a presentation. Waiting just for the slides to appear on the screen. Okay, the presentation is very tiny. It's on the top. Is it possible to have it big on the screen, or is it? Am I not?
We see it. So we see it. We see you and the presentation well. So I think we can go
okay, so
ahead.
it's just me. Okay.
Yeah, no worries.
Then I'll just. Okay, so hello everybody then. Today I will talk about what are the energy efficiency opportunities in industry based on my experience working at UNIDO. At UNIDO we have been implementing industrial energy efficiency programs for more than 10 years now in various countries. So that's what I will talk about. Next, First, I'd like to give a very big picture of where do we stand with regard to industry, energy, and climate change. As Georgette already has mentioned, industry accounts for 40% of global GHG emissions, for about 1/3 of global energy demand, And this data is actually based on the IEA report. It's already a few years old, but it's still quite valid. What we can see that global primary energy demand is forecasted to increase by 2030. The 50% and within the industrial energy consumption, we can expect 50% increase. The 87% increase is going to come from non-OECD countries. In other words, it is going to come from developing world. And like I said, in the industry, we're going to experience the fastest growth in energy demand. At the same time, industrial sector compared to other sectors remains heavily dominated by fossil fuel. To be exact, around 70% of industrial energy consumption is unfortunately still based on fossil fuel. Next slide. The top 5 CO2 emitting industries today, we are steel, chemical, cement, concrete, aluminum, and refining industry. They account for about 70% of the total global industrial emissions. In other words, we call these industries hard to abate sectors. And together, steel, cement, and concrete are responsible for 14 to 16% of global energy-related CO2 emissions. Next slide. This slide only just reiterates the point of industrial energy consumption, that it is on the rise and it is just going to increase. We will see the increase in industrial energy consumption. Next slide. At the same time, industry, compared to other sector, remains a sector with huge untapped industry with energy efficiency potential. This is particularly relevant to developing countries. This chart illustrates energy efficiency investments made between 2015 and 2021. And if you look at it compared to the buildings and transport sector, the least amount of investments has been made in the industrial sector. That means we still have a huge untapped energy efficiency potential within this sector. According to IEA, the projections that overall manufacturing energy intensity has a potential to improve by 44% by 2040. And if we look at industrial subsector to see where are the largest opportunities for energy efficiency improvement, we see that the biggest opportunities actually are going to come from the light industry. Around 70% of energy efficiency potential still remains there untapped. Iron and steel presents 14%, and chemical and petrochemicals are 10%. But like I said, iron, steel, chemicals, petrochemicals are the hard to abate sectors. Next slide, please. So what are the barriers that remain today to energy efficiency in industry? And there are actually lots of barriers, and you have already seen it on the during the poll. What are those barriers? So just one of the key barriers that within the company, the management focus is still on production and volumes and not so much on energy efficiency. On the larger scale at the national level, we see lack of incentive and support schemes for energy efficiency investment, or you could say that there's a lack of policy incentives to incentivize industries to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions and invest in energy efficiency opportunities. In some countries, not in all, but we still see the issue of low energy prices, or in other words, heavily subsidized energy prices, which makes the energy rather cheap in that country, and therefore there is no incentive for industry to invest in energy efficiency measures. Another very common problem we see throughout the whole developing world is lack of information and understanding of their own energy performance. Basically, a lot of industries, they have a poor monitoring systems, and this actually applies both at the national level, that the countries have a very vague understanding of the industrial energy consumption within the country, and at the industry, at the very specific company level, that companies also very often have a vague understanding of their own energy consumption within their own facilities. Having this lack of information actually leads to the situation when we're not able to make a decision in which efficiency measures we should invest and where we should focus our attention. Another problem, a challenge that we often see in a lot of developing countries, is the lack of adequate skills for identifying, assessing, developing, and implementing energy efficiency measures and projects within a certain facility. Identifying industrial energy efficiency projects does require special skills, and what we often see is lack of capacities within the country to identify and implement industrial energy efficiency measures. Another very common challenge is lack of awareness about energy efficiency benefits and opportunities. A lot of industries, they're not even aware that they have this great untapped efficiency opportunities within their facilities, and they're not aware about all the benefits that energy efficiency opportunities present. So because they're not aware about that, they're not really pursuing energy efficiency investments at the same time. Therefore, raising awareness, showcasing case studies and benefits of industrial energy efficiency is always beneficial, both for the policymakers and for the industry leaders. Of course, a big challenge remains the access to financing for many different reasons, starting from the thing that the financing and the banking sector does not always understand the risks associated with energy efficiency investments, and that the risks are perceived very high there because they don't understand how the cash flow would flow from the energy efficiency projects, to problem from the developer side that they're not able to come up with a pipeline of bankable proposals. They're not able to structure and submit proposals for financing. So there are lots of this access to financing actually remains a challenge. And we have said it already in many platforms many times that it's not that the availability of finance is an issue. The finance is usually there, it's available. The challenge is accessing that finance. Yeah. And another challenge that we also can observe is lack or limited availability of industrial energy efficiency services and products. We already sort of mentioned it about it, these affordable and quality products and services being available within the market. So these are some of the barriers that we see today facing industry in discouraging industry from investing in energy efficiency. Next slide, please. What is an industrial energy efficiency? So what kind of investments we would like to see industries make when we talk about industrial energy efficiency? And within UNIDA, there's certain approaches that we preach, and there's certain types of investments that we do favor when it comes to industrial energy efficiency. And this also to visualize a little bit and to explain people what do we mean by industrial energy efficiency. And number one approach where we would like to see more and more investment happening is industries establishing or implementing energy management systems within their own facilities, because it is a sustainable way of continuous pursuit of energy efficiency within their facilities. So energy management system is something that we always encourage industries to pursue, because energy management system also allows shifting this corporate mindset towards energy efficiency behavior and culture. Another thing that we like to preach and strongly encourage within UNIDA is investments in systems efficiency. So we're big advocates of the systems approach. So instead of investing in individual industrial products, like replacing a small equipment or large equipment, doesn't matter, rather take a look at a systems approach and make investments in improving systems. So for example, investments in improving the efficiency of the motor-driven systems like pumps, fans, compressors, or improving the efficiency of industrial heating systems like steam systems optimization, process heat recovery, etc., or industrial cooling and refrigeration systems. So looking at that system and trying to find energy efficiency opportunities, and based on our UNIDO's experience, taking a systems approach yields much higher energy savings than taking individual components approach. Actually, it's about, the result is 20-30 more energy efficiency savings can be achieved if you take systems approach. Another area that we'd like companies pay more attention is in energy monitoring. And of course, if you have implemented energy management system, close energy monitoring becomes part of that system. So basically, that's why we're actually big advocates of energy management system. But monitoring of energy consumption is actually very important, because it is a big enabler to understanding where are your biggest consumption is, and where are those points that you need to focus on. And like I said, this also refers to the national level. At the national level, a lot of countries, they unfortunately don't have good quality data, and they don't have good understanding of industrial energy consumption at the national level. They have overall figures maybe, but they don't have figures like industrial energy consumption by subsectors, by fuel, etc. So that's why a lot of countries, regulators, they don't know how to approach when it comes to regulating industrial sectors. They don't know where to focus and where to shift their attention, because of this issue that they have actually no good understanding of industrial energy consumption. Another area, of course, where we would like to see investment happening from industrial energy efficiency perspectives is in renewables, specifically renewable energy for industrial processes. Of course, when it comes to hard to abate sectors, the area that is really hard to abate is heat. We know that 2/3 of energy within the industry is actually used for heating, and the heat is the one that remains most fossil fuel based, basically, and therefore another solution that we want to see is electrifying that heat, because we have more renewable energy solutions available for the electricity, to generate electricity, than high grade heat. So these are some of the solutions that we would like to see when we talk about industrial energy efficiency. This is the type of investment we want to see happening within the industries. Next slide, please. What are the benefits of industrial energy efficiency? And of course, the number one benefit that we always talk about is saving the energy, reducing the cost. But what we don't talk too much about is about other benefits, or what we call the non-energy benefits of industrial energy efficiency. And sometimes these are called co-benefits or multiple benefits. And we have observed it over and over many times that if a company goes ahead and pursues energy efficiency, specifically energy management systems implementation, they have experienced a number of non-energy benefits. And these include benefits such as reducing operational maintenance costs, because, for example, through energy efficiency measures, they have reduced wear and tear on equipment and machinery, or they lower the cooling requirements. Another non-energy benefit is reducing product waste, reducing dust and other emissions, improved working environment through, for example, improved lighting, reduced noise levels, improved temperature controls, or improved air quality. All these impacts we have been able to observe as a result of implementation of various energy efficiency measures within different facilities. Another non-energy benefit is improved production, such as increased product output or yields, or improved equipment performance, because we have now higher efficient equipment in place, or improved product quality and purity, again, because we have improved the process or have installed a higher efficient equipment that leads to actually better quality products that are being produced at the end. Another non-energy benefit is by implementing energy efficiency measures, it actually improves competitive advantage. So we know that in developing countries, if we have industries that are export-oriented, and big retailers, so big customers, they do give advantage sometimes to industrial facilities that have already implemented energy management system in place. Yeah, so by having that system in place, you might have a more competitive advantage. And it's in some countries like Bangladesh or Sri Lanka, it is actually a big driver for companies that are export oriented to implement energy management system, because it's a customer request, basically. Another non-energy benefits is improved public image or corporate social responsibility. And of course, a big non-energy benefit is job creation. If we do create an environment where we encourage investment in industrial energy efficiency, we are creating a new industry, an industrial energy efficiency industry, basically, with its own expertise. Yeah, we are creating experts that ESCOs, we create auditors, we create energy auditors, we create all sorts of other jobs in that area. So job creation is actually in another non-energy benefit. Now, next slide, please. How do we build industrial energy efficiency markets? Or in other words, how do we create demand for industrial energy efficiency services and products? I apologize that the slide is probably too cluttered and you don't see everything, but it's not important, because what we need to understand, and the approach again that we'd like to promote within UNIDO, is a systems approach and taking a holistic view and approach to creating industrial energy efficiency markets, and therefore making interventions at different levels of barriers and tackling all barriers and not just one or two barriers to creating industrial energy efficiency markets. And this refers to creating an enabling environment, policies and strategies. This refers to creating actually policy incentives to stimulate industries to invest in energy efficiency and decarbonization measures. We also need regulations and standards, such as minimum energy performance standards and labeling, or regulations for energy management and ISO standards. Yeah, another example can be auditing and reporting requirements or energy consumption requirements. So these are like operational regulations and standards that actually make the policy work on the ground. We also need institutional support, and this includes coordination, having a coordination mechanisms within the countries, having data collection and reporting frameworks to better understand industrial energy consumption, having in place quality assurance schemes for industrial products and technologies and services, supporting industries with different implementation tools and guidelines, etc. We also need technologies and services, and this is when we say we need competent local workforce. So if we want to implement energy management systems or improve motors efficiency or steam systems efficiency, we do need people that actually knowledgeable and know how to do that. So we need what we say competent local workforce, or create local capacities that are able to go identify and design those industrial energy efficiency measures. Very often, another example can be that improved business models, data monitoring tools and software to enable more and better energy monitoring, etc. Another area that we need to focus is also access to finance and improving the access to finance. And this is what we're talking about, creating customized financial products. Very importantly, trying to de-risk investments. And in order to de-risk investments, we really need to understand what are those risks associated with energy efficiency investments. Another thing that we often do within UNIDA, within our projects, we work very closely with the banking sector, and we provide capacity building to the banking sector to bridge this gap, right, between this trying to explain what are the energy efficiency projects, what are the risks associated with energy efficiency projects, etc. So working actually closely with banking sector to enhance their capacity and awareness about financing energy efficiency projects. And of course, an area that usually goes very much unnoticed or underestimated is advocacy and awareness. And this is actually becoming a big area now for us in UNIDO in terms of focusing our work, is improving advocacy and awareness, and that is creating strong communication strategies and campaigns. And most important, why we do that is to make sure that industrial energy efficiency, or the value proposition of industrial energy efficiency, is visible and understood to a wide range of stakeholders. And therefore, this is where we actually talk about demonstration projects, case studies, talking about benefits of industrial energy efficiency, etc. So that's what we do in order to build or unlock financing for industrial energy efficiency products and services. Of course, that's what I'm saying. The ideal approach is to have the holistic approach where we would take this approach. We're tackling all sorts of barriers that currently remain to investment in industrial energy efficiency. Thank you. I am done with my presentation. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Nurzat. Thank you for setting the scene so well. This was really a great overview of what we're talking about and what are the challenges when we want to accelerate industrial energy efficiency. And thanks for bringing into the conversation the non-energy benefits. And actually, it was interesting to hear how they have indeed, they do encourage industries to take on energy efficiency projects. And thanks for stressing the need for a system approach, both at the company level, but also when we look at policy approaches to accelerate the market for industrial energy efficiency. So I think this last aspect is a really good way to sort of lead into our panel discussion and invite our first speaker, Carlos Sanchez Rivero. Carlos, good morning. So Carlos serves as a team leader at the European Commission, heading the financing for energy efficiency team in the Directorate General for Energy. And before joining the Commission, Carlos worked as an analyst in private equity and real estate investment firms, and later as performance auditor at the European Courts of Auditors. So it's really great to have you here. And of course, the experience of the Commission with energy efficiency policy is really long-standing. The European directive alone, I think it's been up and running for a decade. And it's been most recently updated to deliver on the REPowerEU plan. So we're really excited to hear from you. So Carlos, I will give the floor to you. And could you tell us a bit more in detail how the European Commission is looking at this landscape of instruments to promote industrial energy efficiency and financing of industrial energy efficiency for industrial decarbonization?
Thank you very much, Georgia. It's really my pleasure to be here in this COP27 event. So yeah, I will start indeed and trying to present a bit how we are, the Commission and the EU, promoting indeed industrial energy efficiency. And I will start, if you want, to the next slide with somehow the overarching element. No? And energy efficiency is indeed very strong political priority for the Commission. It is really an integral part of the EU vision that it was expressed in the EU Green Deal that most of you may know. It is the objective from the EU to achieve climate neutrality by 2050. In the Fit for 55 legislative package, energy efficiency efforts are also considered very highly. And this is why the recast of the Energy Efficiency Directive that it is being negotiated now is one of the main tools of this package that somehow is a response to the EU Green Deal, to the plan of the EU to become climate neutral by 2050. As Georgia, you were saying, also on top of that, we have the REPowerEU plan that was created to address the EU's immediate energy needs, in particular to reduce the EU's external dependencies. And the way to achieve this is mainly to invest on renewables and to invest in energy efficiency. So if we go to the next slide and coming more concrete to energy efficiency in industry, I would like to refer to the proposal of the Commission just mentioned in my previous slide. It is of the revision of the Energy Efficiency Directive. And indeed, this is aiming at providing the right policy incentives. I've seen already in the slide how different audience considering that is very, very important that we tackle that. Hopefully, we are tackling in the good way. And our proposal when it comes to industry has, I would say, clear focus on energy management systems and on energy audits. So energy intensive industries will need to look at deep decarbonization efforts, which will require I would say a combination of improved energy efficiency, renewable energy, electrification, but also new products, circular business models, and also other means to decarbonize. So energy management systems has proven to have a very positive impact on corporate culture towards energy efficiency improvements. And this is the basis for the proposal to have companies which average annual consumption is about 100 terajoules of energy over the previous 3 years, implementing an energy management system. The same also goes for energy audits, which has also led to greater and sustained investments on energy efficiency. But based on that idea to have a wider spread energy audits, we need to go together with the standardization efforts of the audits, transparent and non-discriminatory minimum criteria. It is also relevant to ensure that the SMEs, small and medium enterprises, are not left behind in this exercise. We see that many times they have the will, but they are lacking the capacity to build the business case that they can present to financial partners and make a project really a reality. So we need to support and to devise support schemes and incentives to help them go through this journey. So if we go to the next slide, it is not difficult to anticipate that there is the need of adequate funding to undergo this transition. With this slide, I think we can see that there is a really big overview of the relevant fundings at EU level that can be used for energy efficiency. So we'll not have time today to go into the details, but I would like to share with you maybe two main reflections out of this. So first, that there is a comprehensive framework for energy efficiency at the European level and for industry and for the different stages of the needs. So funding is available from co-financing of investments to help leverage investments to support research and innovation activities for energy efficiency industry. Second important reflection that I would like to share with you is that besides the EU funding possibilities, I would say the public funding possibilities, the transition will not happen if it is only relying on public funding. So we need to bring the private investments on board and make the business case for energy efficiency. So in this regard, it is, I think, also very, very important to keep a dialogue open between financial institutions, policy experts, and the industry. And this will slowly lead us to the somehow another question that we wanted to address as well, is how we can somehow promote collaboration for knowledge sharing, scaling up solutions, technology, policy, services, and finance. So we'll go to my last slide. I would like to maybe here make reference to the work that the Commission has been doing through the Energy Efficiency Financial Institutions Group. It is called EFIC, that has created a space for dialogue between policymaking and industry representatives and the financial sector, with the purpose to assess market barriers to energy efficiency investment, and also very in particular as well in industry, and how they can best address. So in this framework of the EFIC, we have been implementing a specific working group on energy efficiency in industry, which report will be published very, very soon. But I would like to share with you some of the main conclusions, recommendations. So for energy efficiency in industry to become mainstream, we need more dialogue. We need more partnerships between policy and industry. And we need to achieve market conditions stability to allow for long-term investment. So that's important. And efficiency can help SMEs, as I mentioned before, to be more competitive, which others need for a more supportive approach, starting from intermediaries such as external and well external experts. Also, financial institutions, both private and public financial institutions, commitment to climate and energy finance initiatives is really a precondition, as only this will allow for a long-term steady flow of financing that it is very much needed in energy efficiency in industry. And I will finalize saying that also industry should monitor and manage the energy consumption using energy management systems, conduct energy audits, and implement recommendations of such audits. So I will leave it here for the time being, Georgia. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carlos. This was very informative. It's great to hear that energy efficiency continues to be high on the agenda of the Commission. And I think you raised some really important points in the need of in stressing the different roles that public finance can and has to play in accelerating energy efficiency, and especially also in bringing in the private funding, which is also absolutely necessary if we are to really scale up and accelerate these efforts. So we look forward to hearing more about the work of IFIG when the report comes out. And I think these last remarks that you shared regarding the need to create the market conditions are leading well into the conversation with the next speakers. So we welcome Gianpiero Nacci. Hello, welcome Gianpiero. Gianpiero is a director in the Climate Strategy and Delivery Group at EBRD, where he is responsible for green and climate finance, for policy delivery for the corporate, energy, and infrastructure sector. Gianpiero is also responsible for coordinating EBRD work on climate adaptation and just transition with over 25 years of experience. So it's really a great pleasure to have you here in the conversation, Gianpiero. And of course, EBRD has been prioritizing energy efficiency in the countries where it works for a long time. And it has engaged with both governments, but also the local banking sectors to create that enabling environment, to strengthen that market for energy efficiency investments. And so it would be great to hear from you. What do you think the role of financial institutions, particularly multilateral development banks, is for accelerating the market for industrial energy efficiency, accelerating the investments in industrial energy efficiency? And then how do you think the role of collaboration across different actors on coalitions such as mission efficiency can help induce a change in the market for energy efficiency? So
thank you very much, Georgia, and also thanks to UNIDO for inviting me at this event, and also the EU Pavilion here at COP27 for hosting me in a side room. So indeed, at EBRD we've been very focused on energy efficiency for a lot of time. We've been the first multilateral development bank setting up a dedicated energy efficiency team, and this was primarily because there was a early realization that actually energy efficient, or rather the inefficient use of resources, was a main obstacle to economic development and to competitiveness to the industrial sectors in the region where we operate. Going straight into your question, let's say clearly the MDBs can play a major role in helping and raising the profile of energy efficiency, helping our clients understand the benefits, but also creating the partnerships and creating the mechanisms to deliver finance at scale. And I would like to give you two examples of the work that we do, most MDBs do, but also with a particular focus on the work of the EBRD. So one example is is the work on low carbon pathways, decarbonization pathways at sectoral level. This is something we've initiated some years ago. The first example was the work in the cement industry, actually here in Egypt. But now we've been involved in many sectors. A recent example in Turkey, the work on decarbonization of the steel industry, the nitrogen fertilizer, the cement, and the aluminum. All this work helps in three ways. First of all, create a common platforms of understanding by the sector, by the policymaker. So it's about having the assumptions about the development scenarios and also how the market are expected to evolve. The second advantage is that allow the organizations to understand what investments are needed and the time of these investments and the extent of these investments in due course. And the third major advantage is provides clear signals to the market, particularly to the financial sectors, about how investments are going to come and what risks are there and how financial instruments can be designed to support this transition. At EBRD, we do also a lot of work at the company level, at the individual plant level often. It's about, we started doing energy audits 25 years ago, and we've done, hundreds supporting our clients. And clearly, there's been an evolution of the type of approach. Now, we talk about low carbon pathways at kind of company level. And this work includes not only the identification of the technologies and how to finance these technologies and these particular investments, but also how organizational arrangements can be calibrated, can be improved to factor climate risk in investment decision and how to drive the decision-making process towards energy efficiency investments. Another example is the work we do with financial institutions. Both Nurzat and Carlos mentioned, the role of SMEs and how financial institutions can play. I'll give you one example. We have done energy efficiency credit lines for SMEs, for residential sector, for over 15 years. And one key product we've developed in the last few years is what we call Green Technology Selector, which is an e-commerce platform where technology providers and service providers can upload their energy efficiency technologies that are minimum standard, that are actually context-specific, country-specific, and this offers the opportunity to local banks to provide finance on the back of a list of eligible technologies that are predefined, but at the same time offer a window of opportunity for the technology providers to, advertise their technologies in this e-commerce platform. So, and the main objective of this sort of initiative is not only to create a window of opportunity, but also to allow the local supply chains to develop and to expand. Going back to your second, and actually, sorry, just don't want to give too many numbers, but just to mention the way it works, we have over 25,000 technologies which are listed there, with over 2,500 technology providers and service providers in all our countries of operation. There is an application in 10 languages, so you don't have to speak English to use it. So it's a very useful tool to reduce transaction costs and shorten the distance between the technology providers and the users. Going back to the second part of your question, clearly partnerships are fundamental, are very, very important. And I would like to identify 3 dimensions. One is indeed helping developing the value chains. EBRD operates primarily in emerging markets, developing markets. There are still significant gaps. Also, Nurzat mentioned that in relation to the fragmentation of the supply chains of technologies and services. So these partnerships are very important to accelerate and progress in that area of work. The harmonization of standards is very important. There is still a proliferation of standards in the energy efficiency space. So it's important that there is a progressive and hopefully rapid convergence towards the harmonized standardization, but also very importantly, providing orientation to the financial sector. It's very in financial sector. What banks do, they price risks effectively. So the more information is available, the more data is available. That helps the financial sector to design the financial instruments that can support the transition. And let me close perhaps with a couple of quick comments, because I think there is also a bit of a need to refresh, to rebrand, energy efficiency. And I'll give you 2 examples. There is certainly the need to understand the role of energy efficiency in respect to decarbonization of the industrial processes. So we need to make sure that we focus on the technology that don't extend the lifetime of fossil fuel processes, but actually support, accelerate the decarbonization. The second element is really to focus on the role of energy efficiency in the short term. Most of energy efficient technologies are no regret. They're absolutely critical to achieve the 2030 objectives. So we need to really develop a narrative around that. And the co-benefits elements that, let's say, also Nurzat mentioned is absolutely important. And the final point I want to make is our understanding is that at COP28, there will be a strong emphasis on industrial decarbonization. So I think we have really a chance to build in the next few months a strong narrative, a strong partnership, but also focusing on what are the financial instruments, the approaches, the standards that can help scaling up investments and focus of and also developing the market. Again, I'm stressing this point of developing the markets for technologies because it's crucial to develop the value chains. It's crucial to develop the competencies and the dedicated financial products. I stop here, but very open to continue the conversation on this topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Giampiero. Thanks. That was a very interesting example, and certainly we do hope to see many more partners sort of joining forces and in this work to really scale up and accelerate energy efficiency projects all over the world and industrial decarbonization pathways, particularly in developing countries, and we really look forward to continuing building this momentum between the current COP27 and next year's COP28. And as you mentioned earlier, the need to support SMEs and sort of helping them access credit and access technologies for energy efficiency. I would like to turn to our next speaker. So Gursu, if you would like to come on screen, Gursu Sezentorum. She's a project coordinator of the project Promoting Energy Efficiency Motors in SMEs in Turkey, also called TEVMOT project from the Turkish acronym. And Gursu has been working at the Turkish Ministry of Industry and Technology as an expert since 2007, looking at production and energy efficiency in industry, and also the implementation of nationwide programs. So it's great to have you here, Gursu. And so, electric motors are a huge opportunity to improve energy efficiency really all over the world and across businesses and industrial enterprises of all sizes. So it's great to hear. It will be great to hear the experience of Turkey. So could you please give us an overview of the project and tell us a little bit how it is helping decarbonize the Turkish industrial sectors? And what do you think other countries could learn to replicate these successful results, particularly also supporting access by SMEs to efficient technologies?
Yes, thank you. It is a pleasure to be here for this session. Today I want to give you brief information about the TEVMOT project. And it is a case study for the industrial energy efficiency studies in Turkey. As you know, industry, especially the manufacturing industry, is a major source for the greenhouse gas emission and pollution. And therefore, it is a major role to play in the mitigating adverse effect of climate change and protecting the environment. When we look at the industrial energy consumption, inefficient electric motors have a big share, and we can find electric motors in every place, in homes, in offices, in buildings, in factories, and they are essential for SME and for industry too. And nearly 70% of electricity consumption in manufacturing industry is due to these electric motors and motor-driven systems. And energy projects in this sector is extremely important because the potential for energy saving is very high. As a result, our ministry works as an analysis report in Turkish manufacturing industry in 2016, and this is a nationwide analysis. And according to that inventory, there are approximately 4 million inefficient electric motors currently used in industry in Turkey. Although regulations are forbidden motor manufacturers to sell inefficient motors in the market, the problem is to replace current used inefficient motors in industry. In order to achieve this replacement, ministry conducted a project, TEVMOT project, and it has been implemented by the ministry in cooperation with United Nations Development Programme with the financial support of Global Environment Facility. And the project aims to market transformation of energy efficient motors, and we are concentrated on 2 areas of transportation. One is replacement of inefficient motors currently used in industry, and the second one is maintaining efficient motor markets. And our project is a comprehensive project, and we target permanent transformation from policy level to SME financing and awareness level. So today I want to give a brief information. I want to share with you the results of the pilot motor replacement program and its energy and non-energy benefits for our Turkish industry. We have established a pilot finance mechanism and implement that mechanism throughout pilot projects in 7 organized industrial zones in Turkey. The upper limit of the grant is nearly $10,000 per SME, and 75% of motor prices for domestic motors and 60% of motor prices for imported motors have been supported by the project. And our pilot program has finished yet, and we move on to the nationwide dissemination phase, which is with the lesson learned from the pilot program. What do we do in the pilot program? 100 walkthrough and in-depth energy audits with a system approaches are conducted in the field. 363 old low-efficient motors in 48 SME have been replaced by the premium and super premium efficient motors. And all the replaced motors, low-efficient motors, have been recycled. Annual savings of the pilot program are nearly 1,500,000 kilowatt-hour of electricity and nearly 700 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent emissions. So the energy benefits such as reduced energy demand, reduced total of energy costs, decreased greenhouse gas emissions are gained by all the beneficiary SME of the project. Payback periods for motor investment in some cases in the field are less than 1 year. So this leads decreasing electricity bills and production costs. If we are looking from the perspective of non-energy benefits, such as reduction of maintenance and repair costs, improvement of process and the product quality, less waste, maximizing production efficiency, and company reputation, these are all gained with the pilot program. For instance, beneficiary SME are agreed that being in that project increase their commercial prestige. For instance, the maintenance manager of one of the beneficiary SME says that since his firm has replaced the old motors with efficient ones with the TEMOD project, firm is known as climate-friendly firm, which has created a positive impression in his sector. And since energy efficiency studies provide improvement in production and provide an increase in the product quality level, it leads to reduction of downtime. An official of one of the SMEs benefiting from the pilot program state that the old motors with the maximum daily working hours in the factory were replaced. And therefore, they also achieved improvement in the process quality level in this way. The other non-energy benefit is related with the operating regimes. Energy efficiency studies ensure the renewal of the equipment and the regulation of the operating regimes, and therefore the number of malfunctions are reduced. For example, again, one of the beneficiary SME have stated that maintenance and repair costs have decreased thanks to the renewed equipment, and that these decreases have made significant contribution in terms of product cost. I turn to what about the lessons that we are learned from the project. We can divide lesson two sides: barriers for replacement on the SME and the needs for the value chain actor side. From the SME side, due to the lack of energy efficiency awareness, the industries are more conservative against cost increasing variables. Motor replacement, energy efficiency, climate change is not at the first priority for the investment decisions. Although they are inefficient, they are still working, so they do not want to change their inefficient motors. And this is the barrier for us. And the other barrier is related with the finance. Shortage of capital is the main barrier for the replacement for efficiency, and therefore SMEs insist on government's energy efficiency support for all the systems in factory. As you all guess that grant is more preferred support than loan. In the pilot program, it is observed that in many factories, there is a huge lack of submitters for the energy consumption in the system. No one knows how much energy has been consumed from one unique system in the pilot field. So it is a big problem, I think. Also, there is no recording. For instance, no recording of motor inventory, rewarding, and technical data are not generally unseen in that field. These are our lessons learned from the SME side. But about the value chain actor side, the lack of awareness on energy efficiency, training needs, and the communication and coordination between institutions are needed for that we see in our project. As I conclude my speech here, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to Mission Efficiency, UNIDO, European Commission, Carbon Trust, Sustainable Energy for All, EBRD, and COP27 team for providing this platform for us, for bringing us together. Thank you for listening and for your interest.
Thank you so much, Firdousi. It was great to hear this really successful experience. Congratulations, and definitely, hopefully we will see a lot more of these initiatives really coming up. And maybe, so we're running a bit late, but we have one last and certainly not least speakers that can really help us bring everything together, I think. Hello, Paul. Welcome. So Paul is Associate Director and Head of Industrial Decarbonization at Carbon Trust. And with their Carbon Trust, he works with businesses, governments, and partners to accelerate industrial decarbonizations, also for sustainable economic growth. So Paul, we heard so much. We heard, what are the opportunities? What are the technologies that we need to scale up? What are the finance barriers and instruments? So from your experience, if you could help sort of wrapping everything up together, what do you think needs to be done to scale up the adoption of low carbon and efficient technologies in industries, support their ability to finance uptake of these technologies, and also with your experience, how do you think platforms like Mission Efficiency can help in this? The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, it's a very interesting question. First of all, I'd like to thank my panelists because they've done such a great job that I don't think I'm going to have to share too many thoughts here. So I think the first thing is getting back to the fundamentals here, that firstly, businesses and actually investors need to understand that energy efficiency should come first above all else. Because if you reduce the energy demands, things like renewable energy, et cetera, down the process chain, make the demands become much less. The energy needed for industry to make the products will be less. The energy needed to supply the materials to make the additional renewable energy that would be required with wasteful energy would become less as well. And the carbon burden for CCUS and nature-based solutions in the future would be reduced as well. So energy efficiency should be first and central in the conversation, in the first and central thing to do. And one of the points that was made, I'm going to say it a slightly different way, which is it's been shown time and time again that energy efficiency projects return the best value. They return the best performance on WACC, they return the best performance on benefits and co-benefits. And it's almost the case if you have two projects, one is energy efficient, one is not. When a total cost of ownership envelope of finance, the energy efficient project will always return the best value on the same operating conditions. And it's something that we really need to be clear on, which is quite often and understandably, one of the challenges is about initial capital cost. But if you don't look at it as initial capital cost and you look at it in the wider term, then there's always that value that can be captured. And that value has been mentioned quite clearly here around the benefits and the co-benefits, around the improvements of product quality that I've seen time and time again in some really, really big organizations, and the use of less materials, so the reduce of costs, improvements in the safe and healthful working environment. It's really surreal. If you go to an industrial plant that's had an energy efficient production line put in, maybe replacing an old production line, how much quieter these plant lines are, how much less maintenance they need, how easy they are to support, etc. Those types of benefits quite often get overlooked, and it's something that we need to be thinking of. So almost there's an emotional experience of energy efficiency that we need to recognize here. I think many of the points that are already made by my colleagues on energy audits, etc., and building the capacity are very much important to do. But I think we need to recognize that we need to work together in partnership to make this happen. That we can't keep reinventing wheels. There are lots of wheels already out there, and we need to bring all those wheels together in a way that means that all industries, all governments, all people who need to act have access to those really interesting tools and solutions that already exist across the board. And one of them that was mentioned earlier on there, which is the Green Technology Selector, which is a phenomenally useful e-commerce platform. I come from a perspective of, I myself run a technology selector for many years. But when you look at the Green Technology Selector with its roughly 30 countries of operations, it's 10 languages, it's €1 billion plus investment support, it's tied in with the financial institutions, national financial institutions, and helping them deliver. It's actually overcoming a specific barrier, which is let's not make it hard for financial institutions in national countries to solve this technology problem again and again and again. let's use a tool that already exists that helps them do that very quickly so that we can scale up more quickly. And I think that's where we need to be really focusing and bringing it back to my energy, my enthusiasm. That it's almost like there's a point made earlier on. There's an enormous volume of energy efficient and clean technologies out there waiting to go. There's enormous volume of capital ready to go, but there's a discussion that needs to be had about how both sides of the energy efficient project equation talk together. And that's one of the overriding things I think mission efficiency can support on. So I would encourage all stakeholders, particularly banks and financial institutions, who are looking to finance energy efficiency products and projects, to work with this energy with mission efficiency, and participate both in the mission efficiency task force, where we're trying to drive forward this new marketplace, and mission efficiency task force, where we're looking to make sure that the best tools that are available get shared around, and the learnings from those get shared around, so we can move forward through this conversational challenge we have at the moment about understanding each side of the discussion and take us to that next level. And I'll stop there, George.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thanks. This was a great way to sum it all up. Thank you for stressing the need to really bring energy efficiency, to the center of action at the moment and our financial flows. Really stressing how much value there is in investing in energy efficiency, going even beyond energy savings and decarbonization goals, and really benefiting the economy in the end. So thanks for bringing that up. Thanks for sort of the call to action to get involved with mission efficiency and its task forces. We, Sustainable Energy for All, UNIDO, the Carbon Trust, many of the partners involved today will be continuing working to build this momentum and accelerate these solutions. So we really encourage everyone to get in touch and get involved. And with this, I would like to thank all of our brilliant speakers for sharing their experiences with us. We hope that this is a beginning of a conversation that we will continue building momentum until taking the call for implementation from this COP and really getting to work to accelerate finance for industrial energy efficiency. And thank you everyone who connected with us today. Please do reach out to Mission Efficiency. Please do reach out to us and the speakers and get involved in the conversation. And with this, I thank you all, and we can wrap it up for today. And apologies for going a bit late. The session is being recorded, so you will find it online. And please do share with your networks as well. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the panelists, and we'll stay in touch.